Okay, so here we have the battleground map of this election. Sorry, not well, just the map overall in general. So it has a generic stance at 252-163 in favour of Clinton. At the moment, I would suggest that it's more or less okay with what I'm going to do here. We'll probably just see the range of results. So the best for Hillary and the best for Trump. What I will give first is what I expect to happen, based on polling figures and using a different weight, whilst I factored in the 3% swing away from Clinton to Trump. So, first thing to note is that 2nd District of Maine, in my prediction, will go to Donald Trump. It's slightly different to the rest of Maine and the rest of New England sort of area in general. As with New Hampshire, I believe Trump will gain in New Hampshire. North Carolina at this point is almost a given, as with Ohio. Georgia, of course, may change in the future, but for this cycle, it's definitely going to stay with Trump. We move on to Iowa, which I believe will stay red for this cycle. And I don't think anyone could dispute that. Nebraska's gonna. I would just suggest will just be both districts will stay red. Nevada is looking like Trump will win there. Arizona, I will leave out for now, and Florida, I believe, will go to Trump. It will be very tight. I don't think Florida will, on all the networks, will probably say too close to call in Florida for a few hours. It might even be well into Wednesday, even into Wednesday afternoon, before we find out what happens in Florida. But I am suggesting that I think it will go to Trump based on the figures we've seen. Arizona, I also believe will go to Trump, which gives Trump the 270 he will need to win. And Michigan, as far as I can see, is going to be way too tight. So I'm not going to actually say I'm not going to call Michigan, but under this prediction, it won't matter anyway because Trump will have the 270 electoral votes he needs to win. Other than that, this is what I think will happen. There's a chance that Trump could pick up Pennsylvania, and if he does that, he doesn't have to take somewhere, like he could allow Arizona to go and even Nevada to go. Or potentially, if he holds on to Nevada and Arizona and doesn't get Pennsylvania, he could always try for Michigan. I know Clinton was up there yesterday and the day before, maybe just the day before, meaning we might be tighter up there than we may have thought, but that still puts Clinton behind Clinton under this. But however, I could be completely wrong. So if I had to say how it will be, if I had to say this is how the election is going to end up, I would go with the 268, 270. And I would probably, if I had to give a significance level under hypothesis, I'd probably go with like a 90%, because this, from polling figures, raw data adjustment, with the swing factor of 3%, this seems to be the standard result that people have been getting, and I will vouch for that. However, if you just consider the polls alone, sorry about Vermont won't change. unless Bernie randomly decides to endorse Trump with 2 days within the election. But honestly, it would not surprise me if Bernie endorsed Trump. He would, at this point, after what he did with Clinton, he would probably endorse Big Bird at this point, if Big Bird was running as a Republican or a Democrat or natural bloody law. To be honest, I'd just, Bernie, what even are you, mate? So Maine could just be all blue, all Hillary. New Hampshire could just be all Hillary. At this point, I can't see North Carolina and Ohio slipping out of Trump's hands. Easily, Florida could go. California isn't going to change, believe me. Nevada could go. Arizona could go. That's about it. So we could end up with 319, 219. I would say this is extremely unlikely. This is Clinton's best case scenario. In fact, if we just go for a full sort of best case scenario for Trump, he will pick up Nevada, he picks up Arizona, he picks up Colorado too. He picks up Michigan. He could pick up Wisconsin in a best case scenario. He picks up the 2nd District of Maine. He picks up New Hampshire, and he picks up Pennsylvania, and he picks up Florida. This is a best case scenario for Trump with a 325, 213. Again, I would suggest this is unlikely. Michigan, I have no idea how that's going to go. Pennsylvania, despite the fact that there looks like there is a late surge to Trump. Do you know what? In fact, what I'll do is I'll leave Pennsylvania blank. I'll leave Michigan blank. Wisconsin, I'll go with Democratic. Colorado, I'll go Democratic. So Michigan and Pennsylvania are very, very strange because Pennsylvania hasn't voted for a Republican candidate as far as I know in the last 16 years, maybe even longer. So the concept of Pennsylvania being a swing state is really it's up for debate these days. Michigan is so interesting because you have obviously we have Detroit, which its population is more than halved in the last 60 years. Obviously it has a large African American voter base, and from historical data, especially more recent history, we know that the African American community votes Democratic. I'm not saying that's set in stone. Although I think Obama received 95% of the African American vote in 2008 and maybe 92 in 2012. I think that was higher than usual. However, the Democratic Party has always gained the majority of the, well, not always, but in recent history, the majority of the African American vote. I mean, ethnic minorities in general tend to vote Democratic. I mean, one thing that I don't like about Trump, and one thing that most people don't like about Trump, I would suggest, is his frivolous and terrible attitude that he has when it comes to discussing ethnic minorities. The whole build a wall, especially the way he treats Muslims as well. It's abhorrent, really. Whether or not he means it, I don't know. I think he doesn't necessarily mean it, but he wants to appeal to his voter base down here, which he was going to win anyway. If he was really, if a Republican candidate or Trump himself really wanted to swing things in the Republican Party, they would be they would preach the social inclusive aspects. One thing I loved about George W. Bush was his attempt to get real immigration reform in, and obviously, Democrats, as much as you try and say you're progressive, you voted against that.